and welcome back to my channel. Hello. So today I am doing a little sit down chatty video. You can tell what it is by the title already, but if you didn't even know this existed, this is probably gonna blow your mind today. Now, this is something that I have been wanting to try for so long. Like, we're talking years, and I've always been terrified to try it. I think because I assumed it was gonna be hard, it was gonna be messy. I'm just used to tampons, and I was really nervous. But to preface what that is, I'm gonna be talking today about the Diva cup, or I know there are other brands that make it, but basically the Diva cup is a reusable menstrual cup. I will explain what that is, how it works, my experience, all of that. But I had been really nervous to try it, and I was out with my sister who moved to Nashville about 2 months ago, and we were at a local grocery store called the Turnip Truck, which is like our local health food type store. Thank God we have it because I don't live super close to a Whole Foods now, and so Turnip Truck has really like replaced that for me. Hasn't replaced it. Whole Foods will always hold a special corner in my heart, but it's kept me like satiated. So anyway, Shane and I were there, and I bought like some new natural deodorant, which I also love, by the way. I've shown you guys in my routine videos. The Schmidt's natural deodorant in rose vanilla, so good, and it only rates 1 on the Think Dirty app, so amazing. Anyways, I saw this, and Shayna was raving about it, and I was like, I really want to try it, but I'm scared. And she was like, I'm telling you, like, she kind of peer pressured me into it. She's like, you really need to give it a go. So I bought it, and honestly, I thought when I bought it, like, this is gonna sit at the bottom of my, like, whatever. Like, when am I gonna use this? I'm just gonna buy it, I'm never gonna use it, and that's that, because tampons are too easy. And then at the last minute, before we left California, because we recently came back from a 2-week trip in California, and when I left to California, as I was packing, I was like, I'm just gonna throw my Diva cup in there because I knew my period was coming. Did not expect to use it, and actually later when I was on the plane thinking about it, I was like, that was probably really stupid, because if I'm gonna try the Diva cup, I've heard from everyone that it takes a couple of months to get used to because of the way that you have to apply it and how to use it and all of that. And I was like, I should probably only be doing this when I'm like at home. So whatever, it doesn't take up much space in my suitcase, I got over it. But we got to California, and I didn't really explain why we were in California anywhere. I was doing a bunch of random things there. I was filming a music video with my dad. That was so cool. You guys will see that very soon. The song that we covered is a song that I have been wanting to cover for like over a year, and I kept telling my dad, like, just trust me, when I say I'm gonna do something, I do it, but sometimes it takes me actually, that's not true. I don't always do everything I say I'm gonna do, but a lot of times this is like a pattern for me. I'll say I'm gonna do it, and it takes a long time till it actually happens. Even starting my YouTube channel, it took me like 6 months to actually finally start, and that was like taking up videos, deleting them, uploading videos, deleting them, uploading videos, deleting them. So I told him, I'm like, we're gonna get around to it at some point. So we finally did it on that trip to California. Whoa. Choking. So we finally did it on that trip to California, and it was so much fun. That's a side tangent. You guys know every time I do a music video, I'm like living my best life. Anyways, we were there for that. Also, one of my childhood friends, Amy, just got married, so we were there to see her wedding. And then probably one of the most exciting things about the trip is that my brother and sister-in-law had their first baby. So we ended up staying at their house. Sorry if the sun changes a lot. There's a lot of clouds out today. So we ended up staying at their house, and it was so cool because I got to experience something I have not experienced as an adult. I experienced it as a child, but never as an adult, and that is living with a newborn, because she had their baby Isaiah like days before we got there, and they were like, no, we're fine with you staying at our house, like, come on over. So we stayed with them, and it was so cool to get to see just a newborn. So point being, my trip to California was super duper busy, but at the same time, I had a lot of downtime because we were spending time with a newborn, and I was on my period. I got it right after I got there, and so I realized, wait a minute, I said that I wanted to try the Diva cup when I'm like in a house or like in my home, and now I'm like in a home like all day long. This is perfect. So I pulled it out of my box and I cracked it open and I tried it. Now, this is what the box looks like. The cup is not in it right now. The cup is in my little Ziploc baggie that I'll show you in a second. But this is what the Diva cup looks like. And when I went into the bathroom, it's funny because I spent a long time in there. And honestly, every time I changed it, that's fast forwarding, but I spent a long time in the bathroom, which luckily was not awkward because my sister-in-law was spending just as long like in the bathroom for bathroom breaks, except hers was because she just had a baby. Mine was because I was adjusting my Diva cup or dealing with it. So I spent a while staring at the side. I was like, literally, how do I put this in? I almost looked up videos on YouTube. I felt a little too lazy for that. And I looked at the side and these are the directions that it gives. So to be honest, I don't really understand the difference between like fold option 1 and fold option 2. Like it kind of confuses me, honestly. But I just figured after looking at this, I'm like, okay, so I pretty much just got to fold this thing up and then insert it like a tampon. So this is what the Diva cup actually looks like. And it's got this little fishtail thing at the bottom. Looks like a tube, because I mean it kind of is, like there's a hole in it, but it's not a tube because it doesn't, like nothing leaks out of the bottom. It's really just like a little flap to pull and push your Diva cup. Whoa, the lighting is so off. Sorry guys. So yeah, so this is what the Diva cup looks like. And when I did it, I pretty much just like, I squished it down like this, folded it up in half like this, and then I just kept my finger kind of near the front to like, is this focusing? To like insert the cup into my vagina. Wow. Here's the thing about Diva cups, okay? Tampons, which are what I've been using forever. I've never been a pad wearer. I think tampons are awesome because you can just go about your life like pretty much as normal. But as far as I know, the ingredients that are used like on the cotton or on the tampon are not really very regulated. And I don't know if it was just coincidence or if it was because my phone is listening to me, because I'm totally one of those people that believes in that. But after I started, like after I bought my Diva cup, it was the same day, I believe, a video popped up on my feed talking all about toxic shock syndrome. Now, to my knowledge, you still could get toxic shock syndrome from a Diva cup because I think it's actually about keeping that blood inside of you. But I think the chemicals have a big part in that too, like in the tampons. And, you know, if you change your tampons regularly, you're probably gonna be just fine. But I had stumbled upon a video, and you can look this up, Vogue did it, on a model who got toxic shock syndrome from her tampon, and I don't even think she was wearing it that long. And hers ended up being like this horrific situation where like her legs had to be amputated, and it was all this stuff, and I was like, oh my gosh, like, it just convinced me even more. That's actually why I packed the Diva cup and then went into that situation. So anyways, when you fold up the Diva cup and you put it in, for me, it felt a little bit weird, but not that crazy. It kind of just felt like inserting like a jagged tampon, like a little bit of a misshapen tampon, and it went in fine. And what happens is because it's so like bounceable, when you fold it like this, and you stick it in, it just bounces right back open inside of you. That was kind of aggressive. I will say on a side note, it is a little bit aggressive. Like when I take out my Diva cup, when I took it out, keep in mind, by the way, this, I probably should have opened it this way. It might say this in the title. This is like first impressions. I've only used it 1 month. Anyways, okay. So when I pull it out, it is a little aggressive. It kind of like scrapes, that's not the right word, but we'll say scrapes. It kind of scrapes the wall of my like vagina, and it can feel a little bit aggressive, a little bit intense. That being said, so you fold it in, you push it in, it pops open. This is literally where the blood gets captured. Now, here's one thing, funny enough, my brother-in-law, Shayna's husband, Isaac, actually said this to me because when I bought the Diva cup that day, we were all hanging out that night. We were going to like a church, someone from our church was playing a concert, and so we're all in the car, and we're talking about it, and Isaac grew up with 4 sisters, and he was like, I think it's just so great, man, that you can like become, he's like super hippy-dippy. And Dan, I wouldn't necessarily say he's super hippy-dippy, but Dan is the same way, and he didn't even grow up with sisters, which is funny. But he was like, I think it's super cool that you can become like more in touch with your period. And I was like, what do you mean? And he's like what's coming out of you? What's happening? I was like, it's kind of an interesting point I hadn't thought of. And I will say, using the Diva cup during my period, he is totally right. It was such a different experience because you're able to see how much blood is coming out of you. It is a trip to pull it out and be like, oh my god, it's a cup of blood. And if you want, there's actually little measuring marks. I didn't even notice that until right now. So if you want to know exactly how much blood is coming out of you, you could measure it. But that was kind of a trip to me, was to take it out and see like, wow, there's blood. And just so you know, when you take it out, you're like over the toilet. I pull it out and you just dump the blood in the toilet. It's weird, not only to see how much blood comes out, but also to see like what kind of, like, I don't know, I think of my period as just like, just blood, but like it's more than that that's coming out because it's that lining. So you can see all, this is so TMI, but I'm assuming you wouldn't watch this video if you weren't like fine with the TMI, but you can see all of the like, the different textures and goops and like just stuff that comes out with your period. Whoa, Bowser is not happy about that. So yeah, so when it goes in, I jump all over the place. You guys know that. I suck at like linear descriptions. So when it goes in, it feels totally comfortable, just like a tampon if you put it in properly. So if it's not in all the way or it's wedged in weird, you'll feel it. It doesn't hurt, but you're just like, oh, there's something in me. You shouldn't feel it. And that's the way tampons are supposed to be too. If you're putting them in right and there's not something off with the build of your body, then you shouldn't be able to feel tampons or this when it's in you. So if you put it in and you feel it, what I would do is I would go back in and I would reach for this little stick thing and I would kind of push it up farther and kind of wiggle it around. And sometimes I would feel when it was all of a sudden like bloop, like, oh gosh, it just went in the right place. Like, there we go. I did have to adjust it a couple times, but it was pretty amazing how much, like, you don't feel anything, how much blood gets captured. And also, one thing that people really warned me about was leaking. I did leak a little bit, but honestly, I can't say that I leaked any more than a tampon, which is really incredible to me and very interesting. Now, I will say, some people might be wondering, how do you do this when you're in public, like if you're out and about? I think my answer to that would be like, as a woman, you know, you are aware that you're on your period and you kind of plan your day, not accordingly, but you know like what you need to bring, what's going on. And so like, if you're gonna be out and about, because these are slated, that's not the word, slated is not the word, these are said to be able to wear for up to 12 hours at a time. So that's a long time. So if you are out and you're like, I'm not gonna be in any place where I can rinse my cup, because backing up, I needed to say that, in between uses, you're not supposed to just like dump the cup and then like stick it back in. You're supposed to rinse it. And I guess if you were to pinch and you're like, you could, I guess, just dump it and then like wipe it off with like tissue and then stick it back in. Actually, I did do that once at Amy's wedding. Sorry, Amy. But for the most part, you're supposed to rinse it and put it back in. But you could wear it for 12 hours. So if you go anywhere, if you're like, I'm gonna be out and about, I can't touch my Diva cup, can't rinse it, you could just like bring an extra pad with you for safety. So if it is like, oh, I'm leaking, I don't know if people are really gonna overflow from this in a day. I didn't. I think my heaviest day was in the middle between the bottom line and the top line, like right around there. But you can bring a pad if you're like, I'm not gonna be able to change it or rinse it, but I might leak at a certain point, so just bring a pad for midday. But what's really cool about this is also, I'm just gonna state the obvious, waste. You are not using, you don't have to buy tampons every month, so you literally earn back your money, because I believe the Diva cup is around $40. So you literally earn back your money after like 2 or 3 months of tampons, which is crazy, and you don't have to ever have to buy a new one for like years. I was actually watching videos on like how to clean your Diva cup, because apparently it will just get more and more stained every month and change color because your blood will dye it. But yeah, you don't have the waste, you don't have to spend the money, it's not going to be as toxic for you potentially. And yeah, I just think it's really rad to have like a piece of period equipment. It's interesting because I told my mom I made the switch and she was like, oh my gosh, I used to use, so there was an old birth control device, I guess back in the 80s, called a diaphragm. And she's like, I used to use my diaphragm for that, which I don't quite understand because it wasn't a cup, so I don't really know how it captured all that, but she used it and got the same effect. So yeah, that's pretty much it. I'm trying to think if there's anything else I didn't touch on about this video. That's so weird to look at. Oh, I will also say there are different sizes in the Diva cup, and I bought model 1, which is for women under 30 years old who have never delivered vaginally or by C-section. I'm obviously not under 30. I'm 31, 32 in May. But Shayna was joking with me. She's like, well, you've never had a kid. And she's like, and I feel like you have a smaller vagina, which thank God I got model 1, because like I said, even coming out of me, I'm all, ooh, that's aggressive. Like it's all, like it's a little bit intense. But even still, I do want to throw out there for the record, the face that I just made in describing it and saying that it's a little intense is too much of a face for the feeling. It's really not that intense. You're just like, okay. I mean, because sometimes tampons can be intense when you're pulling them out if it's like dry or like catching on anything. I don't know. It's just, it really is. It was so much easier than I expected. I kind of couldn't believe it. It is a little bit stressful that you can't just like pull it out and throw it away. Like you really have to be involved. You're pulling it out, you're dumping it out. It's a little bit of a thing, but it's way less more of a thing, if that makes sense, than I expected it to be. So much easier than I expected it to be. So I want to give a big thumbs up and highly recommend checking out the Diva cup or another reusable period cup if you are a female with your period, because I think it makes so much more sense economically, for the environment, for your own period awareness. That was what I was going to say before too. Seeing all that blood took me even a level deeper into feeling like periods are like a thing. Like it's a moment. I know a lot of people are either grossed out by periods or they brush over it. Like it's just your period, no big deal. And I've never understood that, because periods can be physically exhausting for a lot of women. Like there have been times where I've had to not do things because I'm on my period, and I will feel a certain level, depending on the person or the situation, of judgment around like, it's just your period, like take a Midol or get over it or whatever. And I'll feel like just my period, like I'm bleeding, like, and I'm hurting and I feel all these things. And honestly, using the Diva cup almost heightened that sense of like, wow, my period is like sacred. That's not the word I'm looking for, but we'll call it that. Of like, wow, I'm losing a lot of blood. There's a lot going on in my body. It's a literal miracle that every month my body knows, okay, time to do this, bloop, and gets rid of it. And seeing how much comes out just made me even, you can't disguise how much of an ordeal it is when you're able to look at the blood and measure it. And it's just interesting and fascinating and a miracle to see how our bodies can work. So, yeah, guys, I guess if I can find it, I'm assuming you can buy Diva cups online. I'll link it down below. Hopefully they have it on Amazon and it'll be an affiliate link, hey. But I'll have something linked down below if I can find it online, and I just highly recommend it. So yeah, this video was highly requested on Instagram. I had wanted to make it, and then I asked people today what they wanted to see, and this was what people requested. So if you have any other ideas or thoughts around other chatty videos and topics you want me to do, I've been enjoying bringing this back. Let me know, and I will see you. Oh, and give this video a thumbs up if you liked it. It really helps my channel when you thumbs up my videos. It just helps with the success of it and the sharing of it and all of that. So I will see you guys back here soon. I hope you're having a great day, and that's it. Okay, bye.